So before I start the sermon, two things. The sermon that I am revisiting today at the request of some of the elders of the church was actually the first sermon I preached when I arrived to be minister here in Fresno, and that was exactly 10 years ago yesterday. I've been asked to revisit this sermon, and usually every 2 years I do, because for some reason it seems to resonate, at least in some people's hearts. But I want to make very clear that within Unitarian Universalism, we embrace a wide range of spiritual and religious beliefs. Here in this congregation, many of us have a beautiful and direct relationship with God or a higher power. Some of us feel connected to a palpable spirit that moves through all things. Perhaps we call it spirit of life, fuente de amor. Others of us lean towards the humanist side, lifting up the human and finding meaning there, not looking for the transcendent or that which is beyond the human, maybe that which is directly and deeply within. Today's sermon is speaking mostly from that humanist perspective. Staring up at the stars on a summer night, my friend Heather suddenly whispered, "It all keeps changing." I knew she wasn't just talking about the night sky still streaked with the burning tails of the meteor shower. I knew she wasn't just talking about the moon, a circle of radiance in the spread of the universe. She was talking about, well, everything. It all keeps changing. Environmentalist John Muir wrote, "Nature is ever at work, building and pulling down, creating and destroying, keeping everything whirling and flowing, chasing everything out of one beautiful form into another." This movement, this natural flow of evolving life, is for many of us a cause for wonder, a cause for awe. And yet, so many religious people deny it. According to polls, 42% of Americans believe all living things have existed in their present form since the beginning of time, created by God in 6 days, as detailed in the Bible. This belief is called creationism, 42% of America. Another 19% of Americans believe that human life evolved over time, but that a supreme being guided this evolutionary process with a clear plan. This belief is called intelligent design. And I know that some of us who identify as Unitarian Universalists lean towards the idea of intelligent design. So no judgment here. But, dear ones, if we combine both groups of people, if we combine both different beliefs, we have 61% of the people in this country not accepting the theory proposed by the great Unitarian scientist Charles Darwin, which says that all living things evolved by chance over time. 61% of Americans don't believe that life is generated, ordered, and reshaped through purely natural means. And some of those people, including far too many elected officials, will take drastic measures to make sure that evolution and science are not taught to our children in school. Yes, you can hiss. Thank you. 2 years ago, NPR's Science Friday program featured a segment on evolution. And it affirmed what noted research professor Edwin O. Wilson wrote previously, quote, "Nothing in science has been more firmly established than the universal occurrence of biological evolution." Let's say that together. Nothing in science has been more firmly established than the universal occurrence of biological evolution. Let's hear it for biological evolution. So, 10 years ago, scientists announced the discovery of a new early human-like species in South Africa. This was discovered right after I arrived here in Fresno. Professor Lee Berger, who led the discovery, told the BBC at the time they could be among the first of our kind and could have lived in Africa up to 3 million years ago. A young woman I overheard a few days after this announcement was made, I overheard her at the checkout line at Save Mart, and she disputed this discovery, saying to her friend, "I'm so tired of these so-called scientists making up lies to undermine our faith. We need to throw science out of the classroom and get religion back in, because science and religion are completely different things." Now, I couldn't agree more that religion isn't the same as science. Science deals with the facts of life. Let me say that again. Science deals with the facts of life. Religion should deal with the meaning those facts awaken within us. Religion should not contradict science. It should give science deeper significance. As the Dalai Lama wrote more than 20 years ago, and let's hear it for the Dalai Lama. He wrote, "If science proves some belief of religion is wrong, then religion will have to change." So I want to tell you about someone who changed. Someone whose understanding of the world and of God evolved over time, who grew out of religious myth into religious truth and the truth of science, truth that eventually led him to become a Unitarian Universalist. His name was Carl Peters. Now, like some of us, he grew up in a traditional conservative Christian church and home. He became a fundamentalist evangelical Christian in college. But something happened to Carl Peters while he was studying to become an evangelical minister. No matter how hard he tried, and he tried so hard, he could not feel God at work in his life. Carl Peters writes, "I could not personally experience God at work in the world. When I asked about this, I was told that we could experience the effects of God, but not God himself. This puzzled me," Carl Peters writes. "All that happens in the world could just as well be due to the workings of nature and human society. Why bring in God as the cause of world events or events in my own life?" asked Carl Peters. "The Bible says, 'The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away.' But Carl Peters wondered if the Lord was even involved. Couldn't it just be, he thought, life giveth and taketh away, chance giveth and taketh away, change giveth and taketh away? And so Carl Peters changed the way he thought about God. Now, he didn't throw away the word God. And I really like this about Carl Peters. He kept it, but he redefined it in a way that felt authentic to him. Carl Peters came to think of God as the creative process of the universe, rather than a being who creates and manages the world. For Carl Peters, God does not have a consciousness or a will separate from creation itself. Rather, God is creation itself. The process of life is God. The process unfolding within life is God. That which was begun long ago with the great and popularly known Big Bang is God. For Carl Peters, God is the creative flow of 13.8 billion years of expanding universe. This way of looking within the scientific and finding the sacred is called, among other things, process theology. Could we just say that? Process theology. So the question of the week, does God believe in evolution? No. She doesn't have to. Because according to process theology, God is evolution itself. God is evolution itself. In 1859, that great Unitarian biologist, Charles Darwin, can I hear it for Charles Darwin? 1859, he proposes a two-part theory of evolution, the theory of random variation and the theory of natural selection. Could we say those two? Random variation, natural selection. Darwin proposed, and I quote the great Unitarian, creating consists of two unrelated processes. One is a set of interactions that creates new variations in life, and the other is a set of interactions that selects and preserves some variation over others. Now, for some of us, this sounds confusing, so stick with me. The easiest way, and some of you have heard this before, the easiest way to describe the process of creating, of evolving, is to remember those old television commercials for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Who remembers Reese's Peanut Butter Cups commercial? If you don't, you've got to just YouTube. You'll find it. It's great. But here I will describe it for you. One person is walking along, smiling broadly, holding a jar of scrumptious peanut butter. Another person is walking along, smiling broadly, holding a scrumptious chocolate bar. They collide, and the peanut butter and the chocolate meet, and shock, they mix, all by chance. That is random variation. Something happens by chance that causes a change in the way things have been developing up till then. Randomly, something new appears. Peanut butter gets stuck on chocolate, and that is pretty darn awesome. A fish is born with stronger than usual fins, allowing it to move up along the rocks in the shallow water, maybe even into the mud and muck out of the shoreline. That's awesome too. This is all random variation. Can we say that? Random variation. The second part of creating is the natural selection part. Every once in a while, one of these changes to the norms is successful in some way, and the variation gets preserved. Because the change somehow enhances or improves the original, it survives and is passed into the future. In our Reese's Peanut Butter Cup example, the people taste the mix of peanut butter and chocolate, and decide that that tastes pretty darn good. So a candy company decides to market this variation not as a mistake, but as a new way of savoring life. What starts as an anomaly, a random variation in the makeup of the universe, is sustained because it works. And because it works, it survives and slowly, slowly becomes the norm. That, dear ones, is how human life, as we know it, came into being over time. Could we have applause for Charles Darwin? And even more importantly, could we have applause for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups? This scientific theory need not destroy our faith. According to Carl Peters and his process theology, this scientific theory can deepen faith, for it offers three key principles, three key foundations. These can lead us to the truth of the evolutionary religion that I suggest is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism. And let's hear it for Unitarian Universalism. So, those three principles or foundations. First, evolution tells us that diversity and difference is not, as some would claim, an aberration that must be eliminated to maintain the order of things. Let's hear it for diversity and difference. Rather, evolution shows clearly that diversity and difference become the very building blocks of life. Life in this universe, on this planet, and in our shared human life, this all progresses only through changes in the norm, through something stepping out of the common order and creating a new variation. Life cannot sustain itself through replicating the past. I'm going to say that again because I think that there's somebody and some people who should hear this. Life cannot sustain itself through replicating the past or by making things that look the same. Diversity, difference, and newness is what leads to deeper and a more developed life. Any faith that does anything other than celebrate diversity is contrary to the natural law of the universe. Any faith that does anything but celebrate difference is contrary to the natural law of the universe. And today, I didn't say this 10 years ago, but today I'd like to add that any government that attacks diversity and difference is acting contrary to the natural law of the universe. And if it's acting against the natural law of the universe, it is not going to survive in the long run. That government and that president will fall. The second thing that evolution does to religion is affirm our inherent connection. It confirms the interdependent web of all existence. We didn't just appear as separate, instantaneous, and autonomous creatures. We have a profound past history that joins us to all living things. In the religious past, we might have said that we are connected to other human beings because God created us, and all people are God's children. In the religious past, we might have said that we were connected to the planet Earth because God created humankind out of the very dust that we now walk upon, and God gave us that earth to us to tame and use as our possession. But because of evolution, we have a scientific basis for saying all creation is one. Our common bloodline reaches back 13.8 billion years ago to the moment of the Big Bang. Each human being on Earth is linked together in that 13.8 billion year old Big Bang blast. We were there together back then. We are the children of the hydrogen and helium atoms that were first formed, that condensed into galactic clouds, clouds that collapsed and heated and then ignited into stars. We are the children of stars that used up their energy and collapsed only to explode again and reform in new ways. As Carl Peters writes, we are continuous with the energy that was present at the origins of the universe. Imagine that. Continuous with the energy that was present at the origins of the universe. This energy has undergone countless transformations, and finally now it has become life, humanity, and for better or worse, it has become human society. This shared source that lives within us, this spirit of life, this fuente de amor, demands respect and responsibility. And that is the third principle that evolutionary religion provides. We must live and act from this interrelated web of all creation. Because we are truly and scientifically siblings with all other human beings, we must treat them in life-enhancing ways. Thus, economic, social, environmental, and reproductive justice, racial and gender equality, consideration for those who have disabilities, respect and celebration of elders, social programs that feed and house and uplift our marginalized and underserved populations, non-violence, workers' rights, proclaiming that Black lives matter, brown lives matter, immigrant lives matter, refugees' lives matter. All of this should be born from our desire to nurture, preserve, and protect those who are related to us, because everyone is related to us. And what's amazing is this extends beyond human beings, because all living things on this planet, plants, trees, animals, birds, reptiles, rocks, rivers, oceans, mountains, and valleys, they all share our beginning. And so we must act not as Earth's users and abusers, but as gentle stewards, caretakers, and loving siblings to all of creation. It gets even better because planet Earth comes from the same source as our own body. And because our body is part of the larger living body that is planet Earth, we must care for it in life-sustaining ways. Making responsible choices because of climate change is a religious imperative. Walking gently on the earth is evolutionary religion in action. And we human beings have a unique role to play in this point in evolution's unfolding, because evolution is still unfolding. Through us, creation has, for the first time, developed a consciousness that can become aware of this interconnection and this responsibility. We are the first known life that knows how it came to be and that can contemplate its future. We are the universe become conscious of itself. And the ethic that arises from this awareness is love. In the end, evolutionary religion becomes love. In the end, evolutionary religion is love. As Unitarian Universalist Robert Weston writes, this is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth, and life upon earth rose up to love. My spiritual friends, encoded within each one of us is the brilliance of the stars. You're shining, whether you know it or not. Encoded within us is the mud and muck out of which we first crawled. Encoded within us are the leaves and branches and trees in which we once swung and played and lived and died. Encoded within us is the wonder and mystery and science of evolution alive within us. In these days ahead, difficult and uncertain as we know they may be, may we remember who we are. May we remember where we came from. May we remember to embrace our natural diversity, connection, interdependence, and responsibility. May we remember love. May we remember to love. Our shared future depends upon it. May it be so. Blessed be. Que así sea. Bendito sea. Amen.